What's the deal? What's the deal with Mother's Day? They say that it's the biggest holiday in the United States, which is really interesting to me because there are so many holidays that gifts are given, but Mother's Day is said to be the biggest. I don't know where they have found that statistic or that research to find it out, but they say economically, Mother's Day is the biggest holiday. So, with regards to doing this topic tonight, the other side of Mother's Day brings a lot of joy to people. People buy various gifts. You see, I can't even tell you how many ads I saw online. Um, I can't tell you how many emails, I've gotten about different gifts for Mother's Day. So Mother's Day is definitely a big deal. I mean, you see a lot of commercials as well with regards to, giving gifts, right? So commercialization of, buy this. You weren't thinking about it till you saw the ad. And so Mother's Day is definitely a very ad driven holiday. And so, to give you a lot of different ideas on what to do for mothers. So I want to have this conversation with Mother's Day is a little bit more fresh. So I have seen, just tell you from my experience, I have people who wrote poems, a lot of gifts that, flowers and um, a lot of different things that had taken place on Mother's Day. So I want to talk about the other side. So before I talk about the other side of Mother's Day, let's talk about the first side, the happy Mother's Day to all the mothers. People say all the mothers, those who are like mothers, those who have the hearts of mothers, stepmothers, those who have just been mothers to people, right? Happy Mother's Day. You hear that a lot from different people, whether you are a mother and they say it to you, or you say it to others, or you may hear people saying it to other people, for this holiday, different messages. And so people have a lot of feelings regarding Mother's Day, and with the happy feelings of spending time with a mother that you really cherish, that you honor, that you love, spending that time, a mother that is still present with you, a mother that you have a very great relationship with, or have had a great bond with, can be very, very joyful holiday. And different families do different things for Mother's Day. Even after um, this wonderful, and I'm saying sarcastically wonderful, pandemic, when people getting back with their family members, this was a Mother's Day for in the books for a lot of people because they got back together with some of their family members. For those who have been able to get with mothers who have been vaccinated, so a lot of people have had a very great and happy Mother's Day. Now that I've seen a lot of people that were taken out to eat, and then all these wonderful things. But I want to talk to you about the other side of happy, um, the not so happy Mother's Day, and the reasons why Mother's Day is not so happy for a lot of people. And the same way we talk about any other holiday or anniversary day that shows up, Mother's Day is an anniversary day, just like any other day in the year. With regards to, again, this past year, in most years, period, but particularly this past year, there has been a lot of loss. So some of the other sides of Mother's Days is I'm going to kind of show you a little bit. I'm going to demonstrate it to you. I'm going to explain it first, but then I'm going to demonstrate a technique that we use in therapy to show this side. So say we have, two sides. You see my hand. So you got Happy Mother's Day. And then on the opposite side, most likely he's going to be unhappy, right? The opposite. Happy, unhappy. And that is what we call the two polar opposites, right? Happy Mother's Day, unhappy Mother's Day. So when you have a what we call a spectrum or a pole, right? There can be a lot of different things and emotions that happen anywhere between happy and unhappy. And that's what I want to talk about tonight. The in-between emotions that skew from happy to maybe a little bit closer to maybe that middle portion, and I block my face, that middle portion, but then also over to the unhappy, right? And sometimes it can push past the unhappy. You can define unhappy however you would like to, whatever flows for unhappy. if that's, some experiences that has happened for you. But I want to give space, and also validation, and awareness, as we talk about mental health awareness, for those other emotions that show up for Mother's Day. So, the one of the obvious reasons that other emotions besides happy can show up is that someone, has lost a mother recently. Someone, has lost a mother in regards to mother passing away, in the last year. Some people have lost their mother during the pandemic. And so this was a very, or just for sickness in general for the last year, or just for whatever the reason may be in their life, their mother has been lost, regarding death. So we're talking about death particularly. So yesterday was a very hard day for a lot of people. And even if it wasn't a first for some people, there is a lot of titles that gets forgotten when it comes to this particular holiday. And so when I say Mother's Day, there are people who have had miscarriages. There are people who have had abortions. There are, women who have, given up their children for adoption. There are foster mothers. And with regards to those titles, there's also disruptions in all of those things. The same way, people are happy and celebrating the birth of children, and for the years that you have been a mother, for those who are mothers, the years of having that relationship. Again, we talk about those polars. There's also a other side to that. So these other feelings, these unhappy or uncomfortable, however you want to name them, feelings that come up about the relational changes that may happen depending on how that person may flow, that interaction may flow. So consider someone, and this is not necessarily a grief particular session for tonight, but I want to just bring a point out that with regards to death, that grief is very strong with regards to how it shows up for Mother's Day. People can honor their mothers in very different ways. So, I'm trying to think of like when I was younger, our church service, some mothers or women would wear, roses. And I can't remember exactly the colors, but it was like pink, red, and white. So it was like, you wore a certain color if your mother was deceased, and you wore a certain color if your mother was still alive. Um, and so people do a lot of different things that way. People wear different colors. People wear different, particular outfits or jewelry, different items to honor a mother, whether they are, still living or passing. But for those mothers who are people who have lost those children, daughters and sons who have lost mothers, in death, Mother's Day is very hard for them because it's a reminder, just like any other anniversary regarding grief, a reminder of what is lost. And sometimes it's a struggle. So we talk about the, struggles of the holidays and why that can be hard. Because if this was a time that you and your mother got together, or you spent time with this mother cooked, dinner, or, special dishes, just whatever may have been special for that person and their mother, it brings up a lot of emotions that come with the loss of that mother. And so, with it being very big, some people, have set, and we talk about that, setting boundaries to take care of yourself emotionally. Some boundaries that have been set for people is that they, disconnect for social media, social media or TV. You see it booming, right? And sometimes it's hard to get away from those, the nice positive messages that people are sending out. Happy Mother's Day. And you got a picture of people and their mothers. We're not, trying to take away from people having great mothers and honoring their mothers being here, but also want to give space that there are people who are hurting because they don't have that. They don't have their mother here. And so those messages can be very triggering for them in the pain that they may be experiencing. So if that's something that they may have done as a barrier or boundary, not a barrier, sorry, a boundary, right? To be able to keep their emotions, intact, or in a healthy manner for themselves, and to protect themselves, from going down a place that maybe they don't want to go down, or feeling very devastated or dark that day. or for that time period. So some people set those boundaries. People may cut their phones off. People may, again, just want to be by themselves. And it may seem like, okay, well, they're really sad that day. But that may be how they are protecting their heart from such um, hurtful emotions. And so there can be, again, a flow of emotions on this spectrum of happy and unhappy, right? Excuse me. So consider the person who have had miscarriages, who have lost their children. And some people have lost their children in death. People have lost their children in miscarriages, which is definitely is a form of death. Um, have lost their children with abortion, has lost their children or lost their relationship with their child because they have done adoption. There's a lot of different emotions or scenarios that may bring up grief for people. And so, and as I take it to the place that I work with people who have had miscarriages or who have lost children. This is one of my specialties is grief. So that is Mother's Day is a very hard time for them because in some cases for the mother who has lost a child, who has not had the opportunity to birth a child from their body, it's very painful because you hear all these happy Mother's Days, and a lot of times they're forgotten. People don't even acknowledge that they are mothers because they didn't, quote unquote, deliver their child. And so, since you don't have a visible child, then they don't get that. Or for those mothers who have lost children, then people feel like they are very cautious about, do I say Happy Mother's Day to you if your child is no longer living? And then if you don't, does that take away the fact that you are a mother still, and you've been a mother for said years or for this said time. So again, there's a lot of different feelings that can come up, and it's not always brought to the light when it comes to Mother's Day. So I thought about, with regards to Mother's Day, all the feelings that can come up and the uncomfortable feelings that come up. And I'm gonna just kind of do an umbrella of uncomfortable feelings. And you can flow with it can be anger, people who are angry that they lost their children. I'm a mother and I lost my child, or I'm angry because I had a miscarriage. And I'm just speaking in general, not for myself particularly. Or for the same side of grief of losing a mother, losing that relationship of being a mother is also very painful. So to consider those women and consider those relationships and how they may need to be honored or what they may need that day. And feel free as I'm talking, if there's any emotions that you want to throw out there to say, these are some of the emotions that may have come up on the other side of the happy Mother's Day. Feel free to throw some of those in there. So with regards to, you know, loss, death, or I will say specifically, sorry, death of a parent, death of a child, the grief that shows up from Mother's Day or during Mother's Day, not for Mother's Day, but during Mother's Day, the pain and the regards to the loss. But then there's this other side. As I talk about, the other side of it can be, maybe I'm happy that I had a great mother, right? So we're talking about the happy side. Even if my mother is deceased, I'm happy that I had a great mother. I still honor my mother. And again, I'm speaking my in general terms. And I'm very excited, or maybe still very hurt that I've lost a mother, but I still honor because I had a great mother, right? And then, as we talked about the unhappy, well, then what if there is the middle, the indifferent? So when we say happy, unhappy, let's move a little bit to the middle. This is the indifferent, apathetic emotions that can come up. And I say apathetic because that's really kind of a indifferent feeling. Because this is the mothers who are living, yet the relationship is estranged. So sometimes that's not considered when it comes to Mother's Day. So, and I say this because, again, one of my specialties is trauma. So I'm working with youth and adults who have been through abuse in their life, physically, mentally, or physically, sexually, emotionally, mental and emotional. We kind of tie together because they're very similar. So you have this parental figure as a mother, um, and you see all these people on social media saying Happy Mother's Day, friends and co-workers and whoever else may be around you in your space, in your life, who have these great attachments to their mother or may have had, whether they are living or deceased. But then there is this other side of the relationship of people who have a mom, um, but it's a very, as we people say, may say, complicated relationship because there may have had a history of abuse, history of neglect. And again, it may not always fall up under abuse and neglect. It may just be that they are no longer talking, or there's a time that you're not talking to your parent. Because there are times that, with people that I'm working with, that they are no longer talking to their parent, or they have cut that communication off for a certain amount of time. So there are people who struggle because that bond with the mother they've not really had. And so then what a, so what happens to them? What emotions come up for them on Mother's Day, right? And so um or somebody may say, well, that's not me, Theresa. Like my mother wasn't my mother wasn't physically abusive, or my mother um did the best she could. She just wasn't very present. She kind of wasn't supportive, you know. So again, on this happy side, there are mothers, on this side, there's the love, the support, the cooking of the meals, the family time, the bonding, the affection. You see, and I'm thinking of different images on TV that you may see of different mothers. So you see this strong bond, and people saying things like, my mother's my best friend, and I don't know what I would do without my mother. So again, as we say with that side, the other side of that is, what if I had a mother that was not as loving, um, who did not feed us, um, and I'm saying us again in a general statement. So for those who have mothers who may have been neglectful, either emotionally, physically, or both, it can be very difficult for them on this day, because this is a holiday. Or speaking of yesterday, Mother's Day is a holiday that is thrown in people's faces. And in some ways, it may be a great thing because it's a reminder for some people to honor this woman that has done these great things for you, who have been there for you for all these years, etc. But for those who have different types of relationships with motherhood, whether they are the child who does not have that strong connection with the mother, or they are the ones who have lost their child, or don't have that strong connection with their children. It can be very hurtful to see the different interactions, and not trying to make anyone feel bad for having a strong bond. That's great. But also consider the fact that there's also another side to that. There's others that are feeling different things. And it's important to also honor those feelings, those emotions, and give place to them. So you may say, okay, well, okay, yeah, maybe I do have, I have had some mixed feelings about Mother's Day. And some people, when we talk about, um, for example, of trauma, a lot of times when we don't want to deal with something, it's kind of like a meh, kind of as the emoji. Or there may be some feelings of like, I don't want to deal with that, so I'm not even going to talk about it. We're going to avoid it. I don't even want to talk about it, whatever. And that's a way for people to keep their heart protected from the hurts that may come up about this, about a reminder. Because this anniversary, this holiday is a reminder. And it can be a reminder, again, for some people on the good end, but for a lot of people, it's a reminder, a very painful reminder, a reminder of what they don't have, what they have lost, and in some cases, what they may never have. So with that particular person, I think you can have it period in your whole life, But with that person, if again you had an abusive parent or mother in this case, then it can be very hard during this holiday. So just wanted to give space to those people, to those daughters, sons, to those people who don't get acknowledged as a mother because they, may have had miscarriages, or those who have lost children. We want to acknowledge your pain. We want to acknowledge the uncomfortable feelings that may come up for you, the hard feelings that may come up for you, sometimes the thoughts that come up that make you question yourself. Um, and I say this because I'm thinking of particularly a woman that I worked with that used to ask herself, "What's wrong with me that I couldn't carry this baby to term?" Or what kind of mother am I that I couldn't protect my child? So these questions. So with Mother's Day, and again, even for those who have good bonds with their children or their mothers, that doesn't mean these questions don't still come up. And sometimes when we talk about gifts, gifts can also have, again, that other side to it. It can be this happy, I'm happy that I got A, B, and C. But then what if you didn't get the gift that you thought you should have, that was, in that case? And so it may begin to bring those questions up about your worth. Was where there's some people who in the role of motherhood question, was I a good mother? What did I do wrong that I didn't get um, contact, from children? Or, so a lot of questions, uncomfortable, hard questions, and thoughts come up during this holiday. Um, and there's so many that we can discuss. And, with each one, I want to be able to give space and honor to. But I know those are different lives for different Mondays, but I just wanted to give that there's a plethora of issues that come up. There can be anxiety, with the question of and if there's an issue with contact or communication, if there's been a recent argument with a parent, and then here comes Mother's Day. There may be anxiety issues of, do I talk to them? Do I call them first? Should I apologize? And then there's a guilt that people may feel that may bring depressive feelings regarding, if I don't have money, if I do have money and I don't want to buy them a gift, do I have to buy gifts? So all these things that just continue to come, that just happens, right? That just happens. And it's hurtful. So there are, as we talked about in a couple of weeks ago in our lives, sometimes people, this is a time that, just like any other holiday, that the increase of substances are used because people are trying to drown out feelings that they don't want to deal with, whether that's drinking or another substance. There is isolation that's increased because people feel depressed and anxious and don't want to answer questions, don't want to interact with people, um, don't even want to face the fact that there may be contact or not contact. So if I completely disconnect altogether, I don't have to see either um, or again, to protect that emotional pain or that heart. And so when all of these feelings are coming together like a mixing pot, right? This melting pot. Some people kind of um, and I won't say drown themselves, but it's the same way they may drown themselves in substances. Some people may drown themselves in other things. I'm going to clean all day. I've seen some mothers that I've worked with that have lost children, or that have had miscarriages, dive into, or just in grief in general with regards to loss, because they don't want to face those emotions, face those feelings, and they would just dive into doing things. So if I'm constantly moving, I can't think. Um, or they will go places. Some people may want to be around people, and that's fine. But they, I need to constantly be around people so I can distract myself from these emotions. Or I'm going to drown myself into watching, binge watching TV shows, and it may not be a substance regarding illegal or illicit, I guess I would say, because it depends on where you are. Some things are legal. With regards to illicit substances, some people drown themselves in food. right? So as people are saying, like, this is a great time for food, and people are taking people out to eat and cooking all these great meals. Some people are actually drowning themselves in food in an unhealthy way because they're trying to drown out the emotions that come up. So, um, so I just wanted to not, don't want to be on here, long. So I just wanted to give space, um, and just acknowledge for those that have a hard time on Mother's Day, that Mother's Day is hard for you, in part because you may not have a mother to celebrate with, or you may not have physically a mother to celebrate with because she may be deceased, or you don't have a mother to celebrate with because you don't have a relationship. You don't have an interaction. There's not a bond between you and that parent. So again, there's a happy Mother's Day, but there's also unhappy Mother's Day for some people, the same way any other holiday may be. And so I want to just acknowledge that for those that may have had an unhappy Mother's Day, um, there's no judgment. However you feel is how you feel, and that's okay. Um, and to give yourself permission to feel, as we talk about with running and doing those kind of things. And I said I was going to show you a technique. Let me see if I can. I'm going to kind of show you in my chair. I'm not going to go too far off the camera. So say this point right here is the happy. So what we call a spectrogram is a drama technique that we use. And so a spectrogram is where we put our bodies in the place of the spectrum, like the spectrum of color. So I would say stand in the place that you is your choice. So say it's Happy Mother's Day for me. So I'm gonna stand over here or sit over here, and then I'm going to physically show you, demonstrate, kind of like charades, what happy looks like. So I made, yay, Happy Mother's Day hugs and kisses. Happy. Now I'm gonna scoop. So kind of slide down. And now I'm in the indifferent place. So with this place, then I may say, okay, show me what indifferent looks like. And for each person, that's different. I'm just kind of showing, an example. Indifferent may be like, people, it is what it is, right? That's the indifferent. Um, don't really have any emotions either way. I'm kind of numb here. So there's really nothing. It's kind of blank. Then I'm going to scoot to the unhappy. This is the pain and the hurt. So as you may not be able to see, but I'm gonna put my camera down a little bit. So if I'm holding, right, the loss of miscarriage, the loss of motherhood, someone may hold, have that pain here. Some people may show pain here. So again, it gives that physical expression of what's going on in someone's heart and mind, and it gives them a chance to actually show it in their body and release it. So now I'm going to come back to my place of conversation. And that's just a quick, simple, or a quick sample of some ways that we can use drama therapy in grief, because grief is held in the body. And sometimes we look at grief as if someone has to die, but death can be the death of a relationship in any form, whether the person is still living and breathing on the earth or not. Because sometimes it's the death of just that bond, that interaction, right? So that is held in our bodies, in our emotion, or in our muscles. And some people may say, I'm tense up here, my shoulders hurt, right? And doctors may say, okay, Theresa, you need to get a massage or loosen it, because my tension, my stress is held. My muscles are holding in what I don't express verbally or what I'm not releasing. So, drama therapy gives a place where we actually use movement and art, or the different arts, whether it's music, poetry, writing, because sometimes you may not have the words, but poetry comes out also on Mother's Day. Sometimes in that on that side of good, sometimes in that indifferent, sometimes in that unhappy. I've heard songs. You hear the song, Mama, I love you. And you hear that, right? But then there's also the side of a song that's in so many words. Where were you? Right? Where were you during my basketball games? And I'm paraphrasing the words of this song. Where were you when I was in the hospital? You know, you visited everybody else, but you didn't come visit me. You treated me like A, B, and C. And there are songs that say this um, about that relationship of a mother, about that lack of connection, lack of bond. So there's ways that we express it. And so we just happen to use drama therapy as a way to help you release it out of the body so that it doesn't continue to plague you. Because that grief being held onto, those emotions that are not given permission, stay there, and they cause other issues in other systems, whether it's in your muscles, whether it's coming up again, as we talked about with physical issues and ailments, high blood pressure, strokes. Dementia has also been researched to be said that it's rooted in trauma and grief. So when things are not released, they will find their way out of your body. And sometimes they force their way out in an unhealthy way. So we want to give you a healthy way to release that grief, a healthy way um, to be able to heal, right? And so the first thing to do is to acknowledge that those feelings are there, to acknowledge that it was not always a happy, right? To acknowledge that there may be different emotions on this spectrum, right? And to also um, be patient with yourself if there is other emotions, that you don't have to try to justify them away. You ain't got to try to guilt them away. Whatever you do to protect your heart in that moment, maybe what you needed. But if you notice that there is a pattern of unhealthy coping, that's when you reach out. And again, you don't, we're not saying for you to necessarily have to reach out to us, but I want you to reach out to somebody. Reach out to somebody because anniversaries are going to show up. Reminders, as people call them, triggers, are going to show up. But also know that we are here as helpers, as those who are catalysts to healing to get you to the place that you need to be. I'll make sure I'm not missing any questions. Um, yes, Janet, yes. Saying it's such a big hole when you don't have that kind of relationship. It is. And again, people don't realize it that it can be a huge reminder, or when we say trigger, but um, when you see the interactions, whether it's on TV, or with people in your life that have these great bonds with their parents, and you don't have that same bond. And then it can make you begin to internalize and begin to ask yourself, what's wrong with me? And it has nothing to do with the fact that you were not lovable. Let me say that. You are lovable. You are lovable. Okay. You are enough. You are loved. You are enough, because that can definitely bring up some questions of or some doubts of whether people feel like they're enough. If and again, what was wrong with me? What did I do wrong? No, no. So this is that time for you to allow yourself to feel whatever that may be. And also, and one thing that I will say, and this may be something that you may need help with, but if you don't have that mother bond, or your mother's not here, mother yourself. And I say that because in a way that let me think of the word that I'm trying to convey. So, for example, say, I didn't really get a lot of hugs, right? I love hugs, and maybe my parent was not very affectionate. It may seem like someone saying give yourself a hug is silly or may feel weird, but I'm telling you, the feeling that you get when you wrap yourself up in your own arms, you don't have to wait on anyone. You don't have to, as you say, feel like you have to do anything to get that. You can just wrap yourself up and remind yourself, I am loved and I'm enough. And I'm telling you, I have seen from children to adults get a emotional release from just loving on themselves, because love is needed. We're going to need love. We're going to need bonds. But sometimes we need to give ourselves permission to release those things and permission to also fill our own selves back up with those positive, as we say, words, affirmations, positive narratives, and to tell ourselves and to love ourselves. So I want to say that. Oh, I see another question. What if you want to reach out and feel like you may stir or resurface their emotions? Um, and make sure I'm understanding your question, Angela. If you want to reach out to a parent, um, so and I'm thinking that's what you mean. If you want to reach out to a parent, but there may be concerns about resurfacing, depending on what that emotion is, you're only responsible for your part of the relationship. And there may be times they may say, okay, I'm going to try to, connect again. Because the communication may, okay, a friend who has lost a parent. Um, Thank you for that clarification. Okay, so if you want to reach out to somebody who has lost a loved one or lost a child, um, it's going to be very difficult to resurface something that they are already feeling. You may just be that person that gives them permission to feel that. And if they say to you, I don't want to talk about that. Okay. I mean, then they can tell you that. But to show them that you are thinking about them during that time and show them that you care about them, that you are you're there in your thoughts and prayers, I think that shows a great deal of compassion, and compassion is always needed. So, and as they absolutely say, do not call me on this day. Do not reach out to me. Nobody talk to me on this day. Unless they explicitly say that. I always encourage people to reach out to people who are hurting on, especially on anniversary days, because them are the hardest days. People may say, "Well, I'm okay," but it's okay to acknowledge that it's hard. This is hard, and especially first for those who have lost mothers, for those who have lost children, and those who just have lost that relationship. It's hard. And so it's okay to acknowledge that, to say, I may not have the words, the same way we talk about grief. It's okay to acknowledge, I just wanted you to know that I was thinking about you today. I don't have the words to comfort your hurt, but know that I'm a friend, that I'm here um, to sit with you, cry with you, whatever you need. So hopefully that helps, Angela. So, yes. So, because sometimes that anxiety will be, you're going to make things worse. People are already hurting. Compassion is not going to make anything worse. Compassion can only make things better. And we may fumble sometimes. And people may say, okay, well, I'm sorry, I didn't mean it. I was just trying to show compassion, show that I was thinking about you, show care. So it's okay to be able to do that. And again, I say explicitly tell you not to. Please reach out. Um, if there's not any other questions, I know we're a few minutes over than our usual time. Thank you all for joining tonight. Feel free to share this with others. And as I said before, if you are on that other side of Happy Mother's Day, give yourself some empathy, give yourself some compassion, and give yourself permission to feel. And also fill your own cup back up with those same words that you would want to hear someone say to you. And it may seem like, again, it may seem silly, but it's very empowering and helpful to look at yourself, whether in the camera, in a mirror, um, to speak those words aloud to yourself. I am loved and I am enough. And so I want you to hear that. So as you are sitting on this video right now, and I want you to say that to yourself, wherever you may be, I want you to say out loud, I am loved and I am enough. And yes, you are. You guys have a great night, a great week, and we will see you back here next Monday. If people say as the creek don't rise, we'll be back here next Monday night at 8 p.m. for another Drama is Life. What's the deal? Have a good night, you all. Bye bye.